What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we're going to be discussing the fact that it might be time to change up the weaponry within your loadouts. Now, why is that? Well, pretty recently, in fact last week, we got a surprisingly big update hitting Destiny 2, and with it came several buffs and nerfs, but by far, one of, if not arguably the biggest buff that hit the game with this update was this right here. For aggressive frame scout rifles, they increased the PvE damage by a whopping 30%. That is basically like giving every aggressive frame scout rifle rampage times 3 all the time for doing nothing, right? So in this video, we're going to be examining the effects of this buff. Is it now time to, if you're using a scout rifle in your loadout, or in future seasons, if scout rifles are a featured anti-champion weapon, should you now be really looking at aggressive scout rifles to be the thing that you use? Well, let's get into how this buff actually affected them. So we're going to be doing some damage tests, and here are the subjects of the test. So the everyman common scout rifle, a precision frame scout rifle here, is the Hung Jury SR4. This and its 12 different iterations have been in the game for years, guys, and again, it gives us a really good, very average baseline scout rifle. The precision frame is right in the middle in terms of its rate of fire, and importantly, we do have explosive payload as a perk that is going to be slightly increasing the damage. But after that, we then have the Transfiguration. Now this one is a little bit harder to get considering it is a raid weapon, but importantly, it belongs to what used to be, before aggressive frames came around, the slowest shooting scout rifle archetype, which is the high impact frame archetype. Again, this also has explosive payload as a perk. And then for our aggressive frame, we have the Prophet here. Now, this is going to be strand, and importantly, it does also have explosive payload. Now, there may be a bit of an issue when it comes to kinetic weapons actually dealing a bit more damage than elemental weapons like strand. Unfortunately, we actually don't have a kinetic aggressive frame scout rifle aside from the Dead Man's Tale in the game right now. However, I do believe that Bungie removed the damage bonus kinetic weapons would get against bosses. So instead of judging the damage based on what I'm shooting these thralls for, we're actually going to wait until the big bad raid boss Callie spawns and then do some tests against her. Even if that kinetic damage difference is still in place for primaries, just kind of keep an asterisk on it, but you'll see in a moment, it actually doesn't matter too much. Because what we're able to do against Callie here for these different archetypes, again, they're the exact same power level, they all have explosive payload, so it's a very even test. So for precision frame for the Hung Jury, it did 6,455 damage, counting up the precision plus explosive damage. For the high impact frame, 7,492 damage, and the aggressive frame did a whopping 10,258 damage. You can see the jump up. It's 1,000 more from precision to high impact, and then nearly 3,000 more going to aggressive frame. So that is a big chunk of damage you're going to be doing every single shot. That, of course, is going to help you actually get your one-shot kills, right? Because when we're talking about time to kill, even in PvE, it's going to matter. If you shoot an acolyte and leave them almost dead, well, that second shot is just going to kill your overall TTK. Whereas if you have something that can kill it in a single shot, that's really going to help you. And so aggressive frames do have that going for it. However, judging on single shot damage isn't the best way to judge damage because, of course, we have to incorporate the rate of fire. So that's exactly what I did next. After calculating the damage per second by incorporating the rate of fires, here is what we got. So again, based on that Callie headshot damage for all three of the weapons we showed, the precision frame was doing 19,365 DPS. The high impact frame actually drops down and only does 18,730 DPS. And then where does the aggressive frame lie? Well, after the buff, it's now doing 20,516 DPS. So you can kind of see here, it is now the new clear leader in terms of scout rifle DPS between these three archetypes. I'm surprised, like, not only did it beat high impact frame by a lot, right? Like, that is a significant increase in DPS over its next closest competitor, but it also came out on top versus the precision frame, versus the hung jury. Now, there are a couple of scout rifle archetypes we didn't test here, but those are a lot faster shooting. You're kind of going for different things with those. You're more using those for continued shots rather than potentially having that one-shot kill like we talked about earlier. Like, that's why you would use an aggressive frame. But you can really see here, like, with that 30% damage increase, it really does translate into significantly more DPS output. Without that 30%, this thing would, like, be clearly the lowest DPS by a mile. So definitely it did need a buff, but after this buff, again, it is now on top. And so not only are you potentially going to use an aggressive frame scout rifle to more consistently get those one-shot kills, but if you are shooting a target multiple times, if you're shooting a champion with scout rifle, you know, barrier rounds or whatever you're using, the aggressive frames actually have better DPS too. So, like, it's unironically a good idea to put away the hung jury potentially and bring out an aggressive frame if you have a comparable god roll. So what are the aggressive frames that you can go after in the game right now? Because there's actually not a lot of them. Well, the first one is, of course, going to be that Dead Man's Tale. The patch note actually did say this was affected by this buff. Now, the Dead Man's Tale, because it's an exotic primary, it already hits for 40% more damage compared to legendaries against red bars. So adding 30% on top of that, the Dead Man's Tale is going to be nuking red bars in the game right now. But it can't really get super amazing PvE rolls. Now, aside from the Dead Man's Tale, if you're going the legendary version, you have the long arm from the Spire of the Watcher dungeon. Its arc, it can also get explosive payload, plus, you know, what you see here, subsistence is going to be definitely not bad at all, or even I can get Wellspring in that first column for ability regen. Then you can also get what we were doing the tests with, the Prophet Scout Rifle from Trials of Osiris. I definitely think incorporating explosive payload is going to be the best overall roll, but it can also get Headstone if you want to go the Stasis route, and instead of Keep Away like you see here, you can actually get Demolitionist, which is very, very good. Like, the Prophet with Demo Explosive is now going to be one of the best PvE scout rifles, like, in the game going forward. Moving on from there, guys, a lot easier one to get is the brand new Time-Worn Wayfarer. So this is actually craftable. I did a video on this before because of how the reload animation of aggressive frames interacts with what you can see here, heal clip. It's super beneficial. You can kill a guy and reload like 2 shells with a super fast animation, instantly cancel it, shoot someone else, but still activate heal clips. You can activate heal clip unbelievably fast and often, and then you can combine that with Incandescent for a very, very good roll. However, another one here is the Last Rite. Now, this is a ritual weapon. It can actually get, you know, Reconstruction plus Focused Fury is not that bad, but I don't quite think it's as good as what we're seeing with some of the other weapons out there. Regardless, guys, it's just a situation where they got a substantial buff. If you do have the opportunity to get one of these good rolls, take one out of your vault, craft one, etc., it is absolutely a good idea to start incorporating them because they are significantly better. And again, the next time we are really relying on scout rifles as an anti-champion weapon, definitely this archetype is one to look at immediately. Guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.